Hello and welcome to the very first edition of Cardano 360, our new monthly show bringing you all the news from our expanding Cardano universe. Now, every month we'll be bringing you the latest dispatches from the core team, but also increasingly from the community as we get more and more people come on board with the project. Now, first things first, some of you will be very keen to hear some more news on Africa. We're not going to talk about Africa tonight, but I can say that we have started filming and producing our Africa special. So expect more news on that very, very soon. But meanwhile, we've got a lot to cover off tonight. So let's get started. And joining me, of course, my host, as always, Product Director Aparna Jue. Aparna, how are you?
It's been a good month, Tim. Thanks for asking. And welcome, community, to this month's show. And as Tim mentioned, we're on point to deliver another action-packed event. We have the Merry Hard Fork Combinator event that's coming out soon, and that's going to bring us into the multi-asset era. We have a DevNet rollout that's happening the day of the show with our partner Moon. Some good updates there. We have an update on Catalyst and the community. Some great stuff from Dor coming out of that project. So excited to share that. We also have commercial partner news from Jerry, our CCO, and we have a great preview on Marlowe's progress. And there's actually quite a bit more in the show, so why don't we just get right into it?
So remember, Cardano 360 airs on the last Thursday of every month. So watch along on Crowdcast or on YouTube. And from this month, you'll be able to catch us on your favourite podcast players. So we want Cardano 360 to be your must-watch every month for all things Cardano. But of course, we're just one of the many sources of great content about the ecosystem you'll find out there. So we thought we'd kick off the show by just inviting a few familiar faces to say hello.
Hi Cardano community, this is Rick here, Digital Fortress. I would like to congratulate Input Output on their newest series, Cardano 360, with the new look and feel, and Tim and Aparna will be on every third Thursday of the month with developers and guests to tell us about the latest developments in Cardano. It'll be available on Crowdcast and YouTube. I hope everyone enjoys it.
Hey Aparna, Tim, IOG. So many congratulations for the fantastic new 360 format. On behalf of the CardanoHubs.com team, we brought a present. We created Club Cardano 2.0, which is a global business directory that can list any Cardano-inspired business. So we hope you guys will like it. Thanks again for all the hard work that you're doing, and let's go and change the world. Cheers.
Hey everyone, my name is Pratesh with Kaizen Crypto. I just wanted to say a quick hello and a big congratulations to this new format for this IOHK monthly update. It's been an incredible experience to see all the growth happening with the Cardano project as well as the community. It's amazing to be on this journey with so many amazing people. I just wanted to say thank you so much to all of our delegators, for everybody who has shown us support by subscribing to our YouTube channel or by delegating to our stake pool. It really does mean the world to me. So thank you so much for your continued support. As far as what we can expect moving forward with the Cardano project, now we see things really starting to move fast and starting to take shape. So let's go out there and show the world who we are. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care.
Hey, everyone. I wanted to congratulate Tim, Aparna, and the IOG team on their new show, Cardano 360. Yay! For those that don't know me, I'm Amanda from Ada Angels. I love the Cardano community. Everyone is so amazing and brings unique and diverse perspective to the space, and I think that's just so special and different from other communities. We also try to do our best to share news and updates and help usher people in by answering any and all of their questions. So although I haven't been here as long as some others, Cardano's vision of wanting to do good in the world and wanting to build a better future is what keeps me here, and and I want to be part of that community and participate in the ecosystem as a stake pool operator. So we're going to change the world, guys. So, okay, congrats again, and see you all soon. Bye!
Hi guys, congratulations with the new show.
We're the Cardano Community Podcast.
And tunes. Check the links in the description.
Hi, my name is Umed Saidov, and I am the host of Slot Leader. I wanted to make this short video to congratulate Tim, Aparna, and the entire IOHK team with the new format of community updates that they are rolling out. I know they've been working really hard on that, and I'm looking forward to hearing what kind of updates they will bring to us this time around. I'm personally looking forward to the native tokens on Cardano, and I can't wait to see what else 2021 has in store for us.
Tim, Aparna, everyone at Input Output Global, congratulations on the launch of Cardano 360. From all of us at United Stakes of Cardano and our newscast, Your Cardano Update, a fast-paced rundown of the top stories happening in the Cardano ecosystem. Simply put, we couldn't do what we do without Input Output's innovation and thorough explanation of it all. We're excited to see what's ahead, and we're excited to see it on Cardano 360.
So thanks to everybody for those kind words. And of course, if you want to check out some of that great content, we'll drop some links into the show notes. So Aparna, what's first?
Let's get right into the merry hard fork, which brings us the multi-asset era of Gauguin. So this particular segment, we caught up with Kevin, Vuk, we have Daedalus, so we have Darko on here as well. And we are going to dive into the native portion of it. So that's the native token piece that actually comes onto the chain March 1st. So let's take a look.
So Vuk, Kevin, thank you very much both for joining us. Exciting times ahead. We've just confirmed that the Merry Hardfork Combinator event will be taking place on March the 1st, which of course means native tokens on Cardano. But perhaps we can just talk first a little bit about some of the work that's gone into it so far with the pre-production environment, for example, and what the experience developers have been seeing so far has been.
Yeah, so the pre-production environment was mainly meant as a network that people will leverage to mint tokens and to get that first experience of native tokens on Cardano. Then we introduced the testnet, which is basically almost identical to the mainnet. And with that, we gave people the opportunity to actually start developing their apps and have like the same representation on what it will be on the mainnet. We had some success there. We had several tokens being minted, but at the same time, we also had many companies that want to use native tokens.
I think that was a very successful program as well. Just looking, watching the forums, watching the Slack channels, watching how we were supporting people that were getting into the program, both the pre-production, and then we also did a staging environment for like SPOs, as they wanted to be a little more mainnet ready for the hard fork event. And then we also did the testnet. We did Cardano's testnet. We forked it with the functionality. It all shows how well we've been developing towards usability and user testing. And I'm very proud of the team for being able to do that. So great job, guys. So going on to the Merry Hard Fork event, right? So it's coming up on time. We're really, really happy with where we are with that. What are people going to get with this multi-asset support in the ledger? What are our users going to be able to do? Look, take us through that.
Yeah, so for the mainnet, we want to make sure that people use whatever is the most stable. And that's, of course, is the CLI. With the CLI, they will be able to mint tokens using the monetary policy that they have written in IDE. But later on, we are also going to implement a UI that will allow people to build the monetary policies. So in that way, that also non-technical people can define the way that their tokens should be minted.
I totally get it. CLI is kind of almost like a super user tool in my mind. So I'm really looking forward to how we're going to take the token building GUI concept that we're going to be putting out on testnet and evolving that so that more and more people can eventually utilize token building and multi-assets on Cardano. So looking forward to that. So here's something I've really been wanting to do for the more techies of the audience out there is actually dive into a little bit of the engine of the Cardano native tokens functionality. So Kevin is on the show to do just that. So Kevin, why don't you walk us through a little bit of the technical components?
Hi, Aparna. Yeah, absolutely. I'll do that in just a second. I just want to say before I did that, this is a major achievement by the tech team. Everyone has been working extremely hard over the last few months to make this happen, and I think we've achieved a lot in terms of what we've provided to you as a product. So we have native tokens without needing smart contracts. That's pretty unusual. We have got a system where we can treat native tokens exactly like Ada. So we've got a very smooth, very user-centered focus. Darko, of course, is going to be telling us a bit more about that in a while. You can hold native tokens within the wallet. That's brilliant. So I can just, as a normal user, deal with native tokens. And importantly, from a technical perspective, everything is done using a standard set of ledger rules. So all the security, all the safety and form methods that we've come to expect for Cardano Ada tokens also apply equally to native tokens. You're getting really, really secure, really, really effective mechanism there. So you want me to show you a bit about what's under the hood. So I'll just pop up an architectural diagram to show you, Aparna. And Aparna, you might want to close your eyes at this point because I know that this might be a bit frightening to a product person.
Bring it on, Kevin. Bring it on.
There you go. Isn't that beautiful, Aparna? Isn't it absolutely beautiful?
Love it.
So, so the core, of course, what we have is the Cardano node. This is the guts of the operation. We've had that running now in merry mode since the beginning of December. So about the same time we went to the Allegra hard fork, we also had a version of the Cardano node that was capable of dealing with native tokens. All the core functionality was there, the majority of the ledger rules. And since December, we've been developing the node. We've been working on various performance issues, improving the performance of the node. Hopefully you've been seeing that. We've also made a very few, very minor changes to the ledger rules. We've been very pleased with how stable the whole node has been all the way through the pre-production environment, through the testnet, and now going ahead to the merry launch. So we're very, very comfortable with what we've achieved with node version 1.24, node version 1.25. But in addition to the node, as you can see from the diagram, there are a huge number of other components that all go together to make a working Cardano ecosystem. And every one of those components has to be updated so that it can deal with native tokens. This has been an absolutely massive exercise, big change in Cardano to do this. So the CLI, the command line interface that Vuk showed us, that of course now has to deal with minting native tokens. It has to deal with transactions involving native tokens. And under the scenes, there's a huge amount of stuff that is just there to allow us internally to process the transactions, change the transaction format, deal with different forms of UTXO, etc., etc. A lot of thought gone into that. So major changes from us for the CLI. Now, what Vuk has done is to show you the ERC20 converter, the token builder. This is layered on top of that CLI, and ultimately what we expect is that people will be using graphical tools like that to interface with native tokens. So initially, a lot of token builders will need to use the CLI. Obviously, command line interfaces, they can be a bit tricky to use. They're not the best user interface, but they are incredibly powerful. So you can do everything through the CLI, maybe not conveniently. And in time, what we expect is to see tooling built up that's going to make it very, very easy to mint new tokens, to provide various types of token capability within the ecosystem, including eventually, of course, with smart contracts, because the native tokens won't just exist by themselves. You'll also be able to manipulate them using the new Plutus core mechanisms that we're developing right now. So CLI has been updated. DB Sync, this is a component that probably most people won't have even heard of. But what it does is it records everything that's happening on chain and makes it available through a database to various types of server, including ones that the exchanges use, the REST API server, the GraphQL server, makes the information about the blockchain available to the explorer. It's a full node database, so DB Sync basically tracks everything that the node does from the beginning, records every event on chain, So you've got a trustworthy record of every blockchain event that's happened since the genesis, and that's all recorded in a standard PostgreSQL database that anyone can write their own queries on. So that's a great piece of technology that we've been using. And of course, it's used in the Smash server. Not many changes needed for native tokens in Smash. Smash is the server that tells us about pool ticker names. On the user-facing side, you'll see big changes coming up with Daedalus, particularly with the flight version that Darko will be telling us about. And underpinning that is something called the wallet backend. And the wallet backend has had to go through some big changes as we've introduced native tokens. So the wallet backend is responsible for dealing with all the operations the wallet needs to make with the node, but it's also responsible for doing something we call coin selection, that is picking the UTXOs from within the wallet, choosing the best ones to make payments, etc. Now, it was already pretty complicated when we had Ada, but now we've got native tokens as well. And what you have to do is to basically pick the best UTXO from amongst your selection that allows you to deal with the coins that are in your own wallet. So some very, very clever have been developed there to help with that. Another thing that the wallet backend does is to interface to a completely new component that we've introduced with native tokens. This is the native token registry, and what happens is when you create a new token, you will need to provide various pieces of information about that token, maybe an icon, a call, short name, some information about a website, etc., etc. And that is submitted after a process of manual review into an online registry. So anyone will be able to produce their own tokens. They'll be able to give their tokens meaningful names, not just the on-chain names, and then they'll be able to record the information about that token and put it into this registry. There's an API from that which is looked up. So when an end user deals with a native token, when they send it, say that I send a token from my wallet to yours, Tim, say I want to send you some Kevin coins and get some Tim coins back. Obviously what I want to do, I know my Kevin coins are completely genuine. There's no question about that. I minted them, so they have to be genuine. What I'm not sure about is, are your Tim coins the one true Tim coin, or are they fake Tim coins that some rogue like Duncan happens to have minted and claims to be yours? And this is where the token registry is going to come in. The wallet backend will look up the information from that, and it will give me a fingerprint that will tell me, yeah, that's the real Tim token. That's the genuine Tim token. So when I send you my Kevin tokens and get a few of these Tim tokens back in return, actually I should get a lot back for Kevin tokens, then I know the Tim tokens I'm getting back are the ones that I wanted and not some other Tim token. So that's a key piece of technology that we've put in place over the last couple of months. So Aparna, that's roughly what we've got. So hopefully it helps answer questions that people might have about the technology, and hopefully explains what we've all been doing within the tech team over the last few months.
Kevin, that's a fantastic overview. Thank you for doing that. And as you say, a huge amount of work has gone into from the whole team to kind of bring this to fruition. But of course, as you say, it's a lot about Daedalus in terms of the user experience. We've talked about the developer experience and the back-end technology. I caught up with Darko earlier today to find out a little bit more about what you, the Cardano holder, can expect from Daedalus over the course of the next few weeks. So So Darko, a lot of people will be very keen to understand what the experience is going to be like within Daedalus for sending and receiving native tokens. Perhaps you can give us a bit of a walkthrough.
Sure, Tim. Let me pull up my screen and show you a demo of the native token functionality in Daedalus. This Daedalus instance is connected to the staging network, as you can see here in the top right corner. This network is similar to Cardano testnet, but it's not publicly available. We use it for internal development and testing purposes. As you can see here in the sidebar on the left, I have 3 wallets, NT1, NT2 and NT3. We are currently looking at the summary screen of the NT1 wallet. This wallet holds 246 ADA, and as always the balance is visible at the top of the screen. But we have a new token section here, and as you can see this wallet is holding some imaginary tokens we've created for demo purposes. This wallet conveniently holds 250 of Darko's tokens and 750 of Tim's tokens. The string of letters and numbers prefixed with the word asset next to each of the tokens is the asset fingerprint. Before continuing, let me briefly explain the difference between tokens and assets. Tokens are on-chain denominations of assets. For example, ADA is an asset, and when we are transacting with ADA, we are sending and receiving ADA tokens. That's the difference. So, each of the native tokens has a fingerprint, and when I hover it, this pop-up window is shown with all of the asset details. Here on the top, we have the fingerprint displayed in full without ellipses in the middle. But let's start at the bottom. Policy ID and asset name are hexadecimal numbers stored on-chain which uniquely identify an asset. These numbers can be rather long and are not very practical for a human when comparing and identifying native assets, and for this reason the fingerprints were created. The fingerprint is always 44 characters long, and it combines the policy ID and asset name in one identifier for easier human comparison of assets. The ticker DARK, the name Darko's coin and the description shown here are not stored on the blockchain and are coming from the Cardano token registry. Whenever you see the fingerprint in the user interface, you can always hover it to see the asset details.
So tell me, Darko, how exactly will the process of sending and receiving tokens from within Daedalus work?
Let's see sending and receiving in action. I will switch to the NT3 wallet. This wallet holds 30 ADA, but it's not holding any native tokens. When a wallet doesn't hold any native tokens, Daedalus is displaying this call to action to find out more about native tokens, which links to the wonderful blog post you've written, Tim. Let's hop over to the receive screen to grab one of the receiving addresses. Any of the wallet addresses can be used to receive ADA and native tokens. I will copy one of the addresses to the clipboard and go back to the NT1 wallet to send some native tokens. As soon as I paste well the receiving address, the input field for ADA is shown. As you can see, a minimum of 1 ADA is required because of the min UTXO policy for protection of the network against attacks. Add a token button adds another field. I can select a native token from the dropdown here. And I can enter the amount. Cardano supports any number of native tokens in a single transaction, so I can use this button again to add another token to the same transaction. A minimum of 1 ADA is required, but we can send more if we wish. I'll send 10 ADA. We can also remove tokens from the transaction if we've added them by mistake. I'll hover over Darko's token and remove it from this transaction. Clicking the send button takes me to the confirmation screen. I can check the amounts. I will be sending 10 ADA and 10 Tim's tokens. I need to enter my spending password to complete the transaction. Let's go back to the NT3 wallet to see the incoming transaction. We can see from the transaction label that multiple tokens have been received. Let's click to expand the transaction details. Here I see the addresses, ADA amount is on the top, and 10 Tim tokens are listed here in the token section. That's it for a quick demo.
Thanks, Darko. So when will the version of Daedalus supporting native tokens actually be released? I understand it's going to happen in a couple of different stages.
That's right, Tim. The first stage is releasing the MVP of the native token functionality on the Cardano testnet. We are finalizing this work as we speak, so you can expect Daedalus for the Cardano testnet rather soon. The second stage is the Daedalus flight release, which is expected on the 1st of March. at the same time as Mary activation. And a couple of weeks later, we will be releasing full native token functionality on the Daedalus mainnet.
Hello, my name is Nico Arqueros, and I'm the CTO of Emurgo. With me, there is also Seba.
Hey, I'm Seba, Co-VP of Engineering and Cardano Project Manager at Emurgo.
So today we would like to show you some of the updates that we have for Yoroi for you. So maybe we could start with something related to tokens and Mary, which is like something that everyone's like thinking about. So do we have any update in that side, Seba?
So we're going to add multi-asset support to both the Yoroi extension and Yoroi Mobile. Now for Yoroi Mobile, we're still doing the last finishing touches, and we'll have more to say about that soon. But today I want to just show you the Yoroi extension and what we already have supported. So the Mary protocol upgrade that's coming soon adds multi-asset support, which means that anybody can create their own token and send tokens on the Cardano network, be it NFTs or tokens that represent some sort of assets and so on. And so on the Yoroi extension, you can see in the transaction history page, we already show tokens as part of the transaction history. So you can see every transaction contains not only ADA, or in this case testnet ADA, T-ADA, but also contains these tokens. Now these tokens in this UI you see here don't have names, which is why they're kind of just random numbers and letters. And before the hard fork, we'll be making some changes to this UI to make it slightly more user-friendly and have proper names and so on. But this is kind of the UI you should be able to expect. And you can see it's also supported from the send page. So when you want to send assets, you can send not only ADA, but you can also pick to choose to send a different asset. So if you want to send your best friend a cool NFT you bought, and this is how you do it. You go to the send page, select the asset you want, put in their address, and send them the amount. You can see the amount reflects the specific token they have selected. And so if you want to send, 3 of this token, you put in 3 in the amount field. Currently, we don't support sending both ADA and another asset at the same time. You have to pick which asset you want to send. The reason for this is because there are some use cases where sending multiple assets at a time might be useful. But we're working on a dApp connector for Yoroi, and we feel like using the dApp connector will be the more user-friendly way to send multiple tokens in the same transaction, and we want to keep the send functionality built into the Yoroi extension itself as simple as possible.
Cool. I'm excited about tokens, and as you mentioned, we are also going to be supporting names. So please, everyone, be careful because the names are not unique. So you need to double check that those tokens are the ones that you're thinking you're sending. Also, there is something related to Catalyst as well, right?
Yeah, so the next funding round of Catalyst is starting soon, and we're going to support registration from inside the Yoroi extension. So you can see now we have a new tab called Voting. Now currently we don't have the ability to vote directly inside Yoroi. What we have instead is the ability to register to vote through the Catalyst app. So once you go to vote, you'll be prompted to enter a PIN, which will be used as your login credential on the Catalyst app. And once you've written down this PIN on a piece of paper that you won't forget, you'll be prompted a registration transaction, which will cost about 0.17 ADA to register for Catalyst. And once you've registered, you'll be able to see a QR code, scan the QR code on the mobile app, on the Catalyst mobile app, and you'll be set to vote. Now, one thing to note is that there is a minimum amount of ADA required to vote. And so IHK will announce this minimum amount shortly, I believe. And so if you don't have the minimum ADA required, which I believe is something around 2,500, if I remember correctly, something in that range, but IHK will have more information. You won't be able to vote this round, unfortunately. But if you are able to vote, be sure to register during the registration period. It is a limited time. And so be sure to check out the Yoroi extension and register before the timeline expires. Now, once you register, if you go to your transaction history page, you should be able to see a registration transaction. And so you can see inside the transaction, we have transaction metadata now. Before this update, we actually didn't support transaction metadata in Yoroi. We wouldn't show it. But now actually we show all metadata inside transactions, not just for Catalyst, but in general. So you can see that this transaction here has metadata that includes a Catalyst transaction. Now I know that looking at this, it's just a huge mess of letters and numbers, and that's not super user-friendly. But inside Cardano transactions, you can put any kind of data, not just Catalyst transactions, but really anything you want. And so right now we just show kind of the raw information that's stored on the blockchain. And we may have in the future some, special UI for just Catalyst transactions and so on. So if you see this transaction history, that means you've registered properly. And as long as you've written down your PIN code and you have your QR code handy, you should be set for the registration.
Pretty cool. And also we have some small details that we are adding. As you know now, the dashboard is going to be on the first tab. This was by request of the community. And also in the dashboard now, you're going to be able to see in the specific epoch from which specific stake pool you were receiving those rewards. Also, we're going to be sending a survey, like maybe in a week or two, to get more feedback about which things you like from Yoroi, which things would you like to see updated. So we are like super excited to hear feedback from you. And I think that's from us. Anything else that you would like to say, Seba?
Yeah, one last feature we want to add to this release is the ability to buy and sell ADA. So if you go to the My Wallets page, you'll see a buy, sell ADA button. Now this is our first version of the integration. And so we're still working on improving this functionality, and we hope to have more stuff in the future like DEXs and so on. But for now, we want to add kind of a basic ability to purchase ADA through Yoroi, through a partner. And so that's what this button does.
All right, good overview by Darko. We did work quite a bit on those native token screens. And right now, yes, it's send and receive, a little bit of operational angle to it, but we are going to be looking into what we need to do for the token creators, like I said. So evaluating if it can stay in a GUI form, similar to what we're doing with the ERC20 converter, putting it on Daedalus. A lot of work going on behind the scenes there. Hope you guys enjoy the flight version that's going to come out. So wrapping up, Merry Hard Fork, happening March 1st, 21:44:51 UTC. I hope I got that one right. So Kevin, why don't you tell us a little bit about this Hard Fork Combinator event? What's going to happen?
Yeah, so Hard Fork events, Aparna, these are the most significant changes you can make within the blockchain. Essentially, internally within the team, we actually don't, we only call them Hard Fork events informally. Formally, what they are protocol version updates. What we're doing is we're cycling over from one version of the protocol, an existing version, in this case Allegra, which has token locking and delegation, into a new protocol version which also supports native tokens. So the Mary era is an event that takes us forward, that enables the use of native tokens within the mainnet blockchain. So the Hard Fork event itself, it happens at a particular time. What it's doing is essentially throwing a switch across the Cardano blockchain. And at precisely that time, we will enter the Mary era. All the nodes that are participating in the blockchain will realize that more or less simultaneously. And I say more or less because there's a lot of clever magic going on behind the scenes to get exact synchronization. So before that point in time, we can use token locking, we can use delegation. After that point in time, all of the nodes on the Cardano network will also be able to use native tokens from the get-go. And that's what the event is. Now, for a short period of time, we kind of make time stand still. And the nodes have to basically agree, when are we ready to proceed? And there's a lot of clever mathematics that's gone into determining how to make that synchronization happen exactly. A fantastic presentation last year at the Cardano Summit on exactly that by Esko de Vries, by Duncan, and by various other people. So please go and read about that. But fundamentally, from an end user perspective, we're in Allegra, you have token locking, the network throws a switch, and bingo, you're instantly in the Mary era with native tokens, and you won't even have had to do anything. It will just happen behind the scenes fully automatically. And that's the great thing about the hard fork combination, the great thing about the Cardano network. No fuss, we just move forward and bring you great new features.
Couldn't think of a better way to end this segment, Kevin. Thank you very much, also for joining us. Thank you.
So that was quite a lot of content on Mary and the native tokens and the architecture and what's coming out in Daedalus. So as you can tell, we've been very, very busy as a company this past few months to get us to this point. Now, one of the things that was mentioned in the past was around the fees with native tokens. So as you create your native tokens, you're a user, how do you pay transaction fees? And we did say that Ada would be the first step. We'd be doing all the transaction fees in Ada. However, from a usability standpoint, as you take into consideration all the different users in our ecosystem, we wanted to make it very, very easy. So there has to be some research into looking at different ways of paying those transaction fees, which involves the native tokens themselves. And doing this work, our chief scientist, Aggelos Kiayias, actually spent some time, and he's going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the research around this topic.
Hello from foggy and breezy Edinburgh. I'm Aggelos Kiayias, chief scientist at Input Output and professor at the University of Edinburgh. In Douglas Adams' classic, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, a bubble fish is a creature that you can use to have any language translated to your own language. Now, in the cryptocurrency space, we have smart contract platforms that make it feasible to anybody create, forge, and use their own token. So this raises the question, is it possible to interact with the platform using your preferred token? This is what is enabled by the concept of bubble fees, which is the topic of this short whiteboard video. Now, common wisdom in blockchain systems suggests that when you send a transaction to a blockchain system, this must incur a cost to the sender. The argument is that without such constraint, there is nothing to stop anyone from saturating the system with valueless transactions and thus rendering the whole system unusable. So how is it possible to circumvent this seeming impossibility regarding transaction fees and make it feasible for users to post transactions, use their client to post a transaction to a system using as transaction fees any token they prefer? To understand how we can go about thinking about this problem, let's recall how native assets work in Cardano. Tokens can be created according to a minting policy. Here is token X. And such a token can be added to a UTXO. So in Cardano, after the Mary hard fork, it will be possible to have token bundles. And a certain UTXO can have different quantities of a variety of different tokens together with Ada. Transaction fees in the ledger are denominated in Ada according to a function which is fixed as a ledger parameter. Now imagine that it is possible to issue a transaction that declares a liability denominated in Ada equal to the amount of fees that the transaction issuer is supposed to pay. So in this particular case, suppose that instead of this particular value here, we declare this as a liability. And let's say this is minus 0.16, an indicative fee that this transaction might cost. Now, a transaction that has such a UTXO is not admissible in the ledger. But we can think of it as an offer that asks for the liability to be covered. Now, why would anyone respond to such an offer? To entice a response, the transaction can offer some amount of tokens, like in this particular case, XY that you see here, as a reward to anyone that wishes to offer and cover the liability. Now this, if you think about it, is a spot trade between ADA for the transaction fee and the offered tokens at a certain specific exchange rate. Now in particular, if you think about implementing this, you can think of a stake pool operator who can collect transactions with such liabilities and match them if the stake pool operator sees that the tokens that are on offer are desired. Now to see this as a full example, let's consider the following scenario. Imagine that we have Alice, which is a user and has some tokens of a certain type, let's say type X, and let's say there is a certain amount that she possesses on a certain UTXO. Now she wishes to pay Bob an amount of token X, so she's going to build this transaction to consume that UTXO and transfer this to another UTXO, and she would like to give Bob an amount of 9 tokens of type X. Now she would like to pay the fees of this transaction not in ADA but in token X. Now to do that, she will create a liability output that declares the ADA value, and that's minus 0.16, let's say, for the transaction fees that this particular transaction needs to settle in the ledger, and she will offer the token of type X in return. Now observe that this suggests an implied exchange rate of 3-to-1 between token type X and ADA. Now consider a stake pool operator, let's say Stacy, who sees that transaction and would like to cover that liability because she would like to collect tokens of type X. Now she would use one of her own UTXOs that has ADA, let's say an amount of 5, and she will create another transaction that would consume the liability and will create a new UTXO that will be controlled by Stacy and will pay the fees for both transactions. So let's say the amount here that remains is 4.68. In this example, let's say we have 0.16 for each of these two transactions, plus claim the 0.48 tokens of type X. Now, if you look at these two transactions together as a group, transaction 1 and transaction 2, they have no UTXOs that have liabilities, and together as a group they cover all the fees that are necessary, 0.16 and 0.16, a total of 0.32, and in this way they can settle in the ledger. So this mechanism shows you how is it possible to post a transaction using a particular token that is user defined to cover transaction fees. Bubble fees as a feature is entirely opt-in for Stacy. So if Stacy does not wish to engage in this particular case, she will not issue the transaction that covers the liability. Now, what is interesting about this is that there is not even a need between different stake pool operators or other interested parties that would like to cover liabilities to agree on an exchange rate. Every SPO can provide its own exchange rate, and the user issuing a liability transaction can offer an amount of tokens corresponding to the minimum, the average, or even perhaps the maximum of the posted exchange rate in the network. In this way, there will be a natural trade-off between the settlement time of a liability transaction and the market value of the various tokens. So this is how we can accommodate the concept of bubble fees and empower users to price transactions in any token supported natively by the system. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great day.
So thank you to Aggelos for sharing that whiteboard. And of course, we'll be publishing more information on that very soon. So let's catch up briefly on what's happening out there in the community. And joining us is our very own Ben O'Hanlon. Now, Ben, it's been another busy month out there, not least with our delegation strategy. Perhaps let's just start with that.
Yeah, it was a really busy month. We delegated to over 100 different pools, which is a really tough decisions. You know, sitting in on calls, working out who to delegate to, and there were a lot of different factors for that. But now we have over 100 pools. I think we do have over 100 pools that's successfully creating blocks. So the feedback from that has been tremendous. There's been some really lovely emails of it, and where people have immediately said that it's made a difference. So yeah, that was a big win.
And of course, we'll have another call for delegations out in March for any stake pool operators who are watching who want to get involved in that program as well.
So Ben, I really love your role, that whole engagement with the community piece. And you're not only doing this on the operator side and also with the pools and creating that, you're doing it on the developer side, which is really new for us. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how that's going?
Yeah, the dev community is going really well. We have about 750 developers that have subscribed. Discussions have really spiked in the past 2 weeks. We're launching a dev digest in March, and I think importantly we're bringing together the insights into the team too. So if you think about stake pool operators and devs, they're a community of practice, and stake pool operators have their own communities, and we have an Ada holder poll going out soon too, and that would be a community of interest. So we're bringing that together, and the most exciting thing really is to see people sort of self-organizing and answering each of these questions in Slack. That took off. We reached critical mass much quicker than I thought we would. So I'm really pleased to see the people that are joining.
So Ben, of course, it's still relatively early days. I mean, we've got a thriving developer community already, but it's really just beginning. But what can people do if they want to get involved at this stage?
Yeah, we haven't even launched it on the website yet, Tim. So to get early access, if you were to, we'll put the links in the bottom of this video. But if you go onto Twitter at Ben O'Hanlon, I've also you can DM me, or I've got the links for the SPO digest or Dev digest on my pinned tweet. And if you sign up to that, you'll get an invitation to the Slack if it's the developer one.
So we've had more great news from the Project Catalyst team recently, the world's biggest decentralized innovation project, amongst other things. We asked Eric to catch up with Dor to hear the very latest.
Hi, everybody. My name is Eric Zulager. I am the Senior Content Editor for IOHK, and I am joined today once again by the man who is leading the charge into on-chain governance for Cardano, and that is Dor Garbash. Proposals for Fund 3 are heading to the ballot. Obviously, there have been some changes and advancements for each fund that we've gone through. Can you tell us a little bit about how the voting process has been advanced for this fund and beyond?
The Catalyst team and also the Daedalus team and the Roy team are really proud to announce that registration for voting is easier than ever. For Fund 2, it took about 4 hours to register, and we narrowed it down to something that takes between 2 to 5 minutes. All you need to do is, if you're a Daedalus user, you can click on the voting center icon in your Daedalus app. There's a small transaction fee you need to pay to register to prove your basically your voting power, and but you're gonna get rewarded in Ada for voting. So I highly recommend to do that. So if you have the Roy browser extension, you can use that also to register to vote. And the one key thing to remember is keep a saved copy of your QR code with you, because after registration ends and voting starts, you're gonna need that QR code, and that's not going to be saved in your wallet software. You need to save it yourself. So either save it as a PDF or take a screenshot, or like pop up your mobile phone and take a photo of the QR code. Whatever works for you, make sure you have your own copy saved and backed up, and also make sure you memorize the PIN code that you use to decrypt that QR code. Okay, so this is registration. After registration, and this is where we are at. We have, after the registration period is over, voting will start, and that happens through the Catalyst voting app. You can download that on the iOS store or on the Play Store. I hope that answers the question.
That's great, Dor. Okay, so everybody hang on to those QR codes and remember those PIN codes, please. So with that being said, Fund 4 has just begun, and this is our first $1 million treasury round. Along with that, we've got a whole new set of challenges. Can you give us a brief rundown of all the challenges contained within Fund 4?
Definitely. Okay, let's run through these. Each one of these is of really, really high strategic importance for the Cardano ecosystem. Let's start with the biggest one, and this one has a $400,000 budget in Ada. It's called the developer ecosystem, and the main question for this challenge is how can we create a positive developer experience that helps the developer focus on building successful apps. Okay, so we're talking about building the Cardano developer ecosystem, the infrastructure that people need in order to build on top of Cardano. This is so important. The second one is the dApp and integrations challenge. So this is $200,000 in Ada. And for this, the main question we ask is, how can application developers drive adoption of Cardano in 2021? Okay, so the main difference between the two is that the developer ecosystem challenge is aimed to developers, like all like the tools and processes and support they need to build stuff. And the dApp and integrations is all about like the end user, of how can we bring utility to the end user by developing applications. So I hope you understand the nuance between the two. Then there is like a series of challenges that are small challenges that are in funding but large in impact, that are all about actually improving the Catalyst system itself. Isn't that fun? That we're actually kind of like, we're like a living entity. Okay, we're like evolving and within our own power and creating our own feedback loops. So the first one is called the Distributed Decision-Making Challenge, and it's all about how can we help the Cardano community to get better at distributed decision-making within the next 2 Catalyst rounds. And it has a budget of $50,000 in Ada. So that's all about, well, making good decisions, keeping the voters informed, and making sure that as we go to the ballot and vote, we are making excellent decisions that sustain our ecosystem. The next challenge is proposer outreach. It has $50,000 in Ada. It's all about encouraging entrepreneurs from outside the Cardano ecosystem to submit proposals to Catalyst in the next 2 funding rounds. So this is about attracting, the brightest, the most talented entrepreneurs on this planet to come and propose on Catalyst, and just make people aware that we have this treasury now controlling about $250 million, and getting the best proposals out there, the highest quality proposals out there in the system. The next one is Catalyst value onboarding. It's $50,000 in Ada. And the question it asks is, how can we encourage meaningful participation in Project Catalyst from community members in the next 2 funds? Basically onboarding. So I'm sure some of you have been like, try to engage with Catalyst, maybe found it a bit complicated or maybe not friendly. Maybe some weird jargon is used. So many. That our current onboarding is far from perfect, and there's lots and lots of stuff we can do to improve it. And this is your opportunity to make a proposal, how to improve it, and you know better than us. That's the amazing thing about it, and we're gonna discover what kind of initiatives the community is going to propose to turn basically to convert people, okay, from being, let's say, a lurker or someone who's used to just like commenting to or being like an audience to people who are actually active in the process, meaningfully engaging with Catalyst, creating value for the network. Then we have a special challenge that is made by the Cardano Foundation called Local Community Centers, asking how can we mobilize the community to solve local problems using Cardano through a local community center model supported by the CF. This has also $50,000 in Ada, and it's all about local initiatives, local communities, local hubs, and how we can act both globally but locally also. So I'm sure this is going to be a big hit, this challenge, with lots of different proposals. And then we have the last and my favorite challenge. Actually, my favorite challenge is the decision-making challenge, but this is my second favorite challenge. Possibly even more impactful, because it's called the Fund 6 challenge setting. And it's ask what challenges should the community prioritize to address in Fund 6. Okay, so this is a challenge about proposing new challenges. Okay, so the same way that I come here and I gave you this list of 6 challenges, in Fund 6 I'm going to come and make other challenges that have new budgets, and we're trying to solve other complicated problems together. But you're going to decide some of them. So this is the opportunity for you to propose new challenges. So what could be like what kind of challenges it could be? I mean, it could be a challenge about dealing with banking the unbanked challenge. Okay, it could be a challenge about delivering a specific set of tools in the Cardano ecosystem and encouraging developers to build that specific set. It could be anything you can imagine as an impactful and worthwhile goal for the Cardano ecosystem. And then once those challenges are voted, then the community would be invited in Fund 6 to propose proposals like how to address that exact challenge. So it's really exciting. This is the first big step for community emancipation and self-determination. So I'm really excited about this one.
And we are looking for groundbreaking entrepreneurs and people with revolutionary ideas that want to get involved in Cardano. So how do they get involved? Obviously, some of them are watching Cardano 360 right now. How do they get involved? Or
so first of all, even before the how, it's like, when do you get involved? And the answer is right now. This is all happening right now. This is the early stages of Cardano emancipation and the wave of innovation, a Cambrian explosion, okay, of innovation, of building dApps and utilities and improving Cardano, and you all having a voice and influence. And the sooner you join, the more you will impact, okay, not just with the innovations you build, but you're going to shape the system and how it's going to work and influence it. So now is the time. Now is the time to do it. How? Very easy. I would say there's like two types of ways you can engage. Okay, the first one is, maybe you just want to explore some proposals and maybe be a voter and just be more aware. You go to idscale.cardano.com, register an account there, and you can see all the all the community activity there and get into the details. Okay, and we'll also, by register, we're going to share with you emails updating you about next steps. The second thing, like if you really, if you feel like your heart beating and you're like excited about this opportunity and about this vision, join the town halls. We have every week, Wednesday at 7 UTC. We have about an hour. Sometimes it goes into longer of just direct, like in-depth conversation about the Catalyst process. This is where, if you're a proposer, you're going to learn all about how to make proposals. If you want to know what a community advisor is and how do they go and assess proposals and help us be collectively intelligent, you go there and learn about it. We bring on different external speakers to talk about initiatives. We do workshops there. It's really, really exciting. Last one, we had 2,000 people watching live, and I think they had a good time.
All right, everybody. So head over to IdeaScale and find us there. Please join Project Catalyst. And for those amongst you who really want to dive in deep, come and check out our weekly town halls.
So let's shift now from talking about the community in its widest sense to a more specific segment of the community, the developer community, and some of the languages that developers will be able to use as we roll out smart contracts on Cardano. Maybe let's start off with Marlow. Now, I understand that Aparna, you caught up with Shruti and with Simon and with some of the team earlier today.
I did. Let's take a look at what they have. They're coming out with a prototype next month, so I want to give you guys a preview of what's going on in that world. Hello, so I want to welcome Shruti and Simon back to the show. This is the all-star Marlow team that the community was introduced to maybe a few months ago now when we unveiled the Marlow Playground, which in my opinion was a very successful rollout. So Shruti, why don't you take us through the Playground? Like, what's happened with it? Give us the details on how successful this program was and what was your take on it?
Yeah, certainly. So the Marlow Playground, we rolled out an alpha version of it back in October of 2020, and we've seen a great amount of community and community develop around it. So we've seen about 8.9K users that have been interested in the Playground. They have been signing up, and they've primarily been using it for things such as learning how to build smart contracts. And as Marlow Playground offers the entire suite and end-to-end experience for building smart contracts, that has been proven a very good learning tool for getting onboarded onto the smart contract developer experience.
That's great. And Simon, on the Playground, I mean, you guys were actually front line answering questions for the Telegram community on the Playground. So what were some of the big takeaways that you found?
I guess Blockly, I mean, we've seen this in the past, but we're seeing it again now, that Blockly is a great entry point into smart contracts. People can build contracts in this very visual, very, very intuitive way. So we see that as a great way into building financial contracts for users to run themselves. And as contracts get bigger, then we provide an embedding in JavaScript. And again, that allows us to pull in people from a wide ecosystem. We have a Haskell embedding too, but that's perhaps more niche. But we're able to have that broad reach through JavaScript and through Blockly. So I think we can see ourselves pulling in potential contract developers from the widest possible range of users.
Yes, and truly that's one of the things that we discuss. Like, we love this sort of data because for us that tells us that user experience is key when it comes to Marlow. The easier we make it, the more adoption and the more usability the product has. So that's wonderful. So Shruti, just for all the new users that have joined our audience here in our community, and also maybe for our current community that just needs a little refresh, take us through a quick recap on what Marlow is and the three-pronged strategy around Marlow.
Sounds good. So at Marlow, our ultimate vision is to democratize finance and truly democratize it in such a way that we're able to facilitate peer-to-peer financial agreements between you and your friends and colleagues and so on. Right. So in order to facilitate that vision, we have 3 different prongs in our Marlowe strategy, and these are essentially what dictate the entire suite of Marlowe products that we're developing here. So the first prong is the Marlowe for developers prong, and so the Marlowe for developers prong is really aimed at developers, and that's the one that contains the Marlowe playground. It is essentially an SDK that allows for the whole end-to-end developer experience. So the developers are able to come in, they're able to compose a smart contract, and they're also able to test it and formally verify it, as well as they're able to iterate on it before they deploy it on chain. So they're able to go through that entire process, and we're able to offer also static analysis as well as a formal verification within that. So it ensures that your contracts are quite secure. So that's the Marlowe for developers one. And then we have Marlowe for enterprise, which is essentially our enterprise customized user offering, where we essentially tailor the products in such a way that we're able to give bespoke products to enterprises. And then the final one, which I'm really excited about, is Marlowe for end users. And this is the one in which we're offering essentially a platform or a dashboard where users like you and I can interact with each other and make financial agreements on chain. So we're able to do that in a way that's extremely easy, and we're extremely, while we're building this product, we're really focusing on the user experience of it so that we can make the process of entering financial agreements and executing financial agreements easy as 1, 2, 3.
So that's the exciting thing. You guys are on the show because we do have some progress under the Marlowe for end users product, especially this dashboard concept that we're talking about. So Shruti, why don't you take us through what we're going to be doing with the dashboard concept? We have some, we're going to be unveiling this kind of as a prototype next month. So tell me the motivation behind that. Tell me what you're hoping to achieve and then where we're going to go. And then Simon's going to actually go into a demo, a little bit of a wireframe demo for us to show how the design's progressing. So go ahead.
Yeah, so Marlowe for end users will bring an intuitive, straightforward, and seamless interface for users to execute financial agreements with anyone that they choose to. And in order to do so, we have 2 different products within the Marlowe for end users arm. So we have the Marlowe dashboard, which is the UI layer for this. And then we have the Marlowe library, which is where users can have access to a whole range of templated smart contracts that have been developed by our in-house developers, and then later will be also open sourced. And so essentially these will contain all kinds of financial contracts such as swaps, bonds, and maybe even escrows and so on. And what the user would have to do is essentially just take one of these smart contract templates and then put it on the Marlowe dashboard, and then they will be able to just fill out a certain few fields, and then they will be able to choose whoever they want to participate in and then run it. And then as long as all of these smart contract conditions are met, then the financial agreement will be executed. So that's the dashboard experience, and really we're making this in such a way that we have the suite of rigorously tested and verified financial tools. So we want to ensure security first and foremost, but we're also prioritizing user experience because we know that user adoption is key in order to become successful in the decentralized financial market.
So Simon, do you want to take us through and show us a little bit of the magic?
What you're seeing now is the first of 3 wireframes. So what you're seeing here is the mobile version of our dashboard. And what the dashboard is, it's the app that you will use either on your laptop or on a tablet or on mobile, through which you interact with your running smart contracts. What you see here is the welcome page. It shows there's docs. It shows there's a marketplace from which you can download contracts. And it says you can go back to the marlowe.io website. But let's see what we get after that. Agreeing to the GDPR text, we get taken into this page, which is the overview of the contracts that you've got running. And what you can see, each contract is represented by a ticket here, and you can see there's an escrow contract, and on that contract you can click on the arrow to take you to find more details. It also tells you how much longer there is for that contract to run. So we're giving you a summary of how long the contract has to run, how long it's been running. So on each of those tickets there gives you an overview of a particular contract that's running. You can see we've got zero coupon bond, we've got a swap contract, but that page summarizes all the contracts that you have running. And then if you want to run a new contract, here is an example of choosing a contract from a template. This is saying there's an escrow contract there. The contract below is a zero coupon bond. But here you're able to choose a contract to run, and then clicking through the setup will take you to another screen which asks you to choose who you're going to participate with, how you're going to, and the particular parameters, how much you're going to pay, when the payments will happen, and so on. So you click, it's a bit like an app store, you download the app, and then you set it up, just in the same way you download the contract, set it up, and then it runs. And we've got other screens that take you step by step, one screen at a time, through the running of the contract. You see all the events that have happened, and you see what the contract needs next. Is it an input from you? Do you have to pay some money in? Are you waiting for something from one of the other participants? So the view you're getting here is your view. And what we're offering with the prototype we're rolling out next month, is to give you that experience. You run the dashboard on your machine. Your colleague, who's another participant, runs it on their machine, and together you can interact with a simulated blockchain. And what we will have later in the year is exactly the same dashboard being used to run contracts for real, using your money, on the Cardano blockchain. So what we're giving you here is a taste of what it will be like to run contracts on Cardano, while we're just getting the final integration of Marlowe with the Cardano blockchain.
Beautiful. Really, really like the concept, and it's looking very good. And I'm looking forward to the prototype that's going to come out next month, and I'm sure our community will be very excited to play around and provide us the feedback we're needing to take this into the mainnet product. So Simon, Shruti, thank you for joining the show. More to come on this for the audience, and then we'll keep you posted on when this is coming out. Thanks, guys. All right, so that was the update from Marlowe. As you can tell, we've made a lot of progress in thinking about this mobile first. And it's not an easy topic to think about, especially when you are dealing with smart contracts, which is an inherently difficult concept for users outside of the domain to get a grasp on. And in Marlowe's case, we're looking at it from a financial smart contracting language on top of Plutus in Cardano. So doing it this way, mobile first, low code, making it really easy and user friendly, I feel is going to pay off for us in terms of our user adoption. So great work by the team there, and looking forward to where that takes us. And speaking of domain-specific languages, we do have another domain-specific language that is going to be on the DevNet program, which is rolling out on the day of the show, and that happens to be Glow, which is developed by the Mutual Knowledge System founder and his team, François-René Rideau, who's known to us as Fare. And this language is a little different from Marlowe in the sense that it's more around automating error checking and security parameters and things of that nature. And we are pretty excited. We've been talking about this for a couple of months. We're really excited to get this rolling onto our DevNets and bring users, both targeted users and also just the general population of our developer users, into the network to try out. So without further ado, let's take a look at that.
So Fore, thanks for joining us today on the show. Now, anybody who was watching back in November will have already met you, but obviously our community has grown quite significantly since then. So maybe let's just start a little bit. Tell us about Mutual Knowledge Systems and about Glow.
So Mutual Knowledge Systems is a software company based in the US, and we're developing a solution for the blockchain. We want to become the company developing the solution to develop software for all blockchains. And the foundation of our offering is this open source programming language Glow. We're currently the main developers of it, but the project itself is open source, so everyone can audit that the thing is indeed safe and secure as we see it is. And Glow is this language that allows you to describe these interactions between people who don't trust each other. and who want to exchange assets, digital assets on the blockchain. And in situations like that, if I do my part first, the rational thing for you to do is to not do your part. If you do your part first, the rational thing for me to do is to not do my part, unless we have a smart contract that ensures that we each do our part, or else we're punished more than it's worth. So cheating is not worth it. So Glow with this language that allows you to write very simply small description of these interactions in a way that is aware of the fact that there are multiple participants, etc., and that there are escrows, and it deals with everything for you. It is portable. It is much simpler than writing 10 times or 100 times the amount of code in Solidity and JavaScript. It generates actually both the client server and the contract from the same source code. So from this, for instance, 6 line, our simplest program is 6 lines of code. It would be like tens and tens of lines of code of both Solidity and JavaScript, or maybe only tens of lines of code of Bluetooth and Haskell. But it still would be much simpler. It would be portable. It would work on all the blockchains. Right now we support the EVM. We're waiting for Bluetooth to be in production before we resume work on the Bluetooth backend. In the future, it will run on every smart contract platform from Bitcoin something to Tezos to EOS to whatever. But we particularly like Cardano, and we're very happy to start with Cardano because Cardano and us, we share this idea that we want bedrock solid software. And I think that's why we keep together.
The DevNets program gave us a different opportunity. The DevNets program that we run is all about interoperability and getting our user base to start testing these languages and these interoperable features early on. So we had decided back in December to start off with the DevNets, and that's why we've got some exciting news this week, right? We're going to be rolling out the integration of Glow with our EVM and our DevNet program, and then we have a roadmap to continue it down through Plutus, like you said. So why don't you kind of highlight some of the feature benefits of that for us?
So once again, Bluetooth is not ready right yet, but this EVM sidechain is ready. So just like Cardano can run any smart contract now on the sidechain, but in particular it can run smart contract written with Glow, since Glow can be used to target the EVM and any EVM network. So you won't have to wait for Bluetooth to be developed, launched, and then probably Bluetooth may have to have several editions before it can do everything you want. But with the EVM, you can already do the things you need to do and use Glow to do it safely and simply.
Safari, when it comes to Glow and the DevNets, the reason we're putting it on the DevNet is because it's going to be a part of the Goguen umbrella. The Goguen umbrella has multiple different pieces. We've got Plutus with the native programmability, Marlow is a part of the DSL, and you consider really Glow is a DSL of sorts, and we are going to be putting it onto Plutus similar to Marlow. But the DevNets allow the user base to come in and play around and get comfortable with the product and also iterate and make it better. And I feel that that's very, very powerful in this regard. So I'd love for you to actually show us a little demo of what you've achieved on the DevNets, and so our users can get a little more comfortable with it and start playing around with it.
Here we are going to show you how Glow works with the simplest possible contract, which is buying a signature. This contract has plenty of things in green. These are comments. You can ignore them or read them. But the important part is that the parts that are actual code, apart from the hashtag Glow at the top, which is boilerplate, is like these 3 lines, plus this line, plus this line, plus this line. So that's 6 lines of code. It's pretty little code. And what this interaction does is we're going to have an interaction between the buyer and the seller. And this interaction will have two parameters, which is a digest and a price. The digest will be the digest of a message we're going to sign. So the digest represents the message we're going to sign. It's just as a cryptographic summary of it. And the price is the price we have agreed to pay for the signature for this message. So the buyer will deposit the price in the contract. That's what he does. And then he waits for the seller. And the seller will publicly write a signature for this message. He will sign the digest, and we get a signature. And once he's got a signature, he can withdraw. So what happens on the blockchain? On the blockchain, Glow will detect that, there is one changement between people. Here, the buyer does something, and here the seller does something, and here the contract does something. But whatever the contract does, we can group with what the previous participant does. So in this case, all this will be together one transaction. So the first transaction above is when the buyer deposits the money, and the second transaction will be when the seller signs the message publicly and then gets the money. And because the signature is public, the buyer will be able to see the signature to verify that it is correct. Everyone can verify that it's indeed correct. If it's not correct, the seller cannot release the money. He has to publish a correct signature to be verified by the contract. So we have two interactions, one that will actually create the contract here, and one that will consume the contract there. So let's see how we can actually start an interaction between our good old friends Alice and Bob. Here's a terminal where on the left side I have Alice, on the right side I have Bob, and they want to exchange a signature. So Bob will sell a signature to Alice. So what will he sign? Let's say that Bob offers to sign a document that says, I, Bob, sell my car to Alice. And you could add lots of extra wording to make it legal and add the details such as the date, the brand, etc., etc. But let's say that for now, that's what you are going to save to a file did.txt, and we're going to sign that file. Since we're doing cryptography, what we are actually going to sign is the digest of that file, the cryptographic digest. So let's compute the cryptographic digest of that file, and let's save that for later, because at some point we'll need to specify exactly what we are signing. So this is copied, and now let's be Alice, and Alice, we're going to start an interaction. So Glow, start interaction. And we're going to use a test blockchain to go faster, so we can have an answer in seconds and not in minutes. And I'm going to run as a database Alice, so I don't step on anyone's toes. And there, he asked me, here's a list of pre-approved applications that have been audited, and which of these you want to use? By signature number 2. And my identity will be Alice, number 1. I will be buyer, role number 1 in this interaction. And the seller in this interaction will be Bob, role number 2. And the parameters, the digest, so that's where I would do the paste of the copy. Okay, so somehow Bob must have given to Alice his document, and they can both compute the digest and verify the document says what something they agree to exchange signature for money for. And the price will be, say, 1 Ether, which is 10 to the 18 tokens. Okay. And let's give an initial block of 20,000 to have plenty of timeout, leeway for timeout. Okay, and now it says, Bob must start the above interaction this way. So let's start this interaction. So Bob was going to start the interaction as instructed. In practice, his interface would do that for him, but since we are going to the low level of how Glow works, that's how we are doing things. And same thing, I'm going on the test blockchain, and my database is run/Bob, so I don't step on anyone's toes. And Bob says, okay, who is entity? I'm Bob, number 2. Once again, your graphical interface can do that. For now, this is a text interface. Choose a role, I'm a seller, number 2. And now I need to paste handshake. The handshake is what Alice creates after she creates the contract. And once again, in practice, this should be exchange off-chain using libp2p. But here, for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to copy-paste it by hand between these two persons. So here, Bob gets the thing, and then Bob does his part. And at the end, Bob sign the signature, and on the left side, Alice could see that Bob did his part, and in the end, Alice has what? Alice has this nice signature that she can use as a legal document, legal signature, or signature to say atomic swap on the blockchain, etc. So here's what we have for Alice at the end of the interaction. Both have seen the signature because the signature has been made publicly. So that's the simplest interaction you can write in Glow, a 6-line interaction that already does everything, and the client, the server, the contract are all generated automatically for you. So you write those 6 lines and you input the parameters, and everything else is done for you by Glow. You don't have to write 100 lines of JavaScript and 100 lines of Solidity. It's all done for you. And the line, and what's important, that instead of that Solidity and that JavaScript code that will get out of sync, you have one program that is always in sync with itself. You have a 6-line program that is, where there will be no discrepancy between the client, the server, the contract. The two sides of a client and server, it will always work together. So that's what Glow does. Glow takes a 6-line description, a very abstract description of the interaction. It compiles it so that it will work on any blockchain. Right now we support Ethereum-based blockchains, and we'll support Plutus as soon as it is, and Cardano as soon as it is in production. And we will gladly support other blockchains. If you have a blockchain company, you want Glow to work on your blockchain, we can make that happen. And so there. So you can write 6 lines of code that will run on all blockchains, generating all the code that you need, saving you hundreds and hundreds of lines of code and lines of code that you need to debug, to audit, and to make sure are correct.
So why don't we talk about the rollout process? You know, we're rolling it out this week to our general community base, but we also have talked to you about more of a targeted, kind of a controlled beta group of developers that would be working with you to iterate on the product, right? So why don't you take us through the plan there, and then how our community can get involved if they want to?
Yes. So Glow is still in development. There are things it can already do, and for these I invite anyone to use Glow, and things it cannot do yet. And for this I invite you to still join the Glow developer community, where we are actively adding features. And maybe if you have a great project, we can add the features that you need and prioritize them with respect to the features already on our roadmap. We have a big roadmap. We have some solid features we already have, and we have an even longer list of things we want to add. So maybe if you have a great idea, we can prioritize the features you need. And certainly within the next few months and this year, we will roll out more and more features. But if you work with us early, we can make sure that it's all working for you, and then it will be portable. Instead of writing your software just once, you can, once per network, you can write it just once for all the networks.
So that's the Glow DevNet rolling out today. So if there are any developers watching who want to get involved, it's joining our suite of DevNets that are providing additional capability on Cardano. So make sure you click on the link below and get involved. Fari, thank you very much for joining us today. So with new utility come new collaborations and new partnerships. So every month, Jerry, our Chief Commercial Officer, will be joining us to give us the latest on what's happening out there in terms of partnerships, collaborations, and new players in the ecosystem.
Jerry here, very excited to have our guest today, Camilla Churcher, Head of Business Development at Celsius. Camilla, can you please introduce the Cardano community to Celsius?
Yeah, absolutely, Jerry. Thanks for having us. So Celsius, if people aren't familiar, is a crypto lending platform. I think we were the first in the space to offer our users the ability to earn interest on their crypto holdings and take loans against their crypto holdings. And the goal of Celsius was to bring a more equitable system to our users. We pledged that we'll pay 80% of our earnings back to our users. And the outcome of that is that we pay real meaningful passive income on in terms of interest and make our loans extremely affordable against crypto. We're big proponents of the crypto ecosystem. We support over 45 different assets. And again, really want to expand this space and bring more utility to our users.
Great. It sounds like a very exciting offering for your community, and Celsius has had great success on this model. Could you please tell us a little bit more about your users and your community, please?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. It's been an extraordinary few years. So to give everyone a sense, in terms of the customer assets we have on the platform, we've actually reached close to 10 billion. Moves around a little bit on the day. And we have over 450,000 users. We have a very strong Celsian community of people who are passionate about the model. So we have a strong retail presence, and we've seen a very strong trend in corporate applications as well on the platform. So it's a very vibrant community. Everything we do is with the community in mind, and it's been growing at an increasing and a very rapid pace, which is exciting.
So Camilla, DeFi more generally has seen remarkable growth, but is also facing some serious challenges, especially based on Ethereum. How do you see Cardano fitting into this?
Yes, I think the issues that we've experienced with Ethereum on DeFi has been predominantly around fees, and it's really made it less economical for people to participate. And I think Cardano, with its proof of stake model, should be able to help reduce those fees, make it much more efficient for people to be able to participate. So that's why we want to explore these new opportunities and how Cardano can help.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, consumers out there, being able to work with a financial service provider that doesn't charge fees is a breath of fresh air for sure. So could you please tell me more about your expectations towards Cardano and having Ada and Celsius specifically?
Yeah, I mean, we're very excited to list Ada. It's coming soon in the app, as it is slightly different. It's not an ERC20. We are working with our MPC provider to be able to add that to the wallet. We've had a lot of demand for it from the community for some time, so it's something we've been working on, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of adoption and a lot of deposits, and equally institutional borrowing demand as well, so we can pay interest on it.
That's great. Thank you for that. I'd like to kind of double click a little bit on the CeFi and DeFi aspect of it, because I think there's a lot of confusion in the market with respect to these different terms. So it'd be great to better understand that and what you mean about creating bridges between CeFi and DeFi.
Yeah, so I think the way I think about it is CeFi obviously stands for centralized finance. We are firmly within the crypto ecosystem and use all of that technology, but we are managing the information. We do KYC AML, so we know who all of our customers are, which I think is beneficial in terms of making sure that we know who all the actors are on our platform. And then DeFi is decentralized finance, and the idea there being that it is trustless. People manage their own keys. They're able to operate with people that they don't necessarily know who's on the other side, but equally there are challenges that come along with that as well. So again, I think it's trying to pick the benefits of both, and we're a platform that offers yield to our customers. So if we're able to extract yield from DeFi, we want to be able to leverage that as well.
Great, fantastic. Another aspect that's interesting is the CEL token and how that's incorporated in your ecosystem. Can you tell us a little bit more about how the CEL token is used and its purpose?
Yeah, absolutely. The CEL token is a very important part of our flywheel, as we call it at Celsius. It is a utility token, and the utility of the token is that as a token holder, you are able to achieve higher yields on your assets and also lower cost rates on your loans in the platform. All of our users can opt to either earn in kind on the platform. So if you hold Bitcoin, you can earn Bitcoin, or when you have Cardano, you can earn Cardano. But you can also opt to earn in CEL token, which means that as we're paying rewards on our token in CEL, we have to buy it in the secondary market. And then slowly over time, we're accumulating more and more of our CEL token, which is of limited supply on the platform. And we've seen pretty solid appreciation in price of the CEL token over the past year. I think it's been one of the best performers.
Great. Thank you so much, Camilla. I think, a lot of great things for the community to better understand Celsius and what you're doing for the community. I'm quite keen to work with a partner like Celsius. I'm quite keen on a lot of the problems you're trying to solve, and we're, working feverishly in the background to make sure that the proper integrations are in place for players like yourselves and others, and help you also solve some of the challenges that you have in terms of the regulations that are coming online and so forth, and making sure that we have a platform that can be useful for somebody like yourself. So thank you so much for your time, Camilla. Back to you, Tim.
Well, thanks very much, Jerry, for that. And we hope, of course, that Ada will be landing on Celsius soon. So expect to hear more in due course from the Celsius team on that. Another partnership we'd like to highlight tonight, which is both a direct partnership and also as part of Project Catalyst, is with Load. So back to Jerry now to hear a little bit more about that.
I'm here with Rich Kopcho and Chris Snook, Managing Directors of Load Studios, strategic partners of IOHK, as well as active community members of the Cardano community. Let me kick off with Chris. Could you please introduce the Cardano community to Load and SDK?
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. First of all, thanks for having us here. It's super exciting. Lots going on this month, and so we're obviously excited to just be part of such a major broadcast. And so Load Studio is a venture studio. Rich and I formed that a little bit over a year ago. It's headquartered in Laramie, Wyoming, and operates across the corridor of Laramie down through Scottsdale, Phoenix area. And SDK is our first kind of major portfolio company that we're spinning out. So unlike an accelerator and incubator, Load Studio operates much like a manufacturing plant for hyperscale startups, and SDK is the first one out of the gate. And so Load Studio and IOHK came together a little bit over a year ago and endeavored down this road of commercializing layer 2, 3, and 4 technologies on top of the Cardano infrastructure and everything it entails. And so SDK builds transcendent technologies that provide peer-to-peer commerce opportunities, as well as creators, artists, distributors, producers, brands to take their communities of common interests and act as sovereign actors in a two-sided marketplace. So we're building infrastructure and go-to-market capabilities for the marketplace of sovereign actors, and that's where Tala and a lot of the great things that Cardano provides us is so incremental to what we're doing. So we're an integrator and a go-to-market amplifier.
Thank you, Chris. Another quick question. There are many well-known blockchain platforms to choose from. What are the advantages from your standpoint of Cardano? What brought you to us?
You know, a long time and a lot of research, I think. You know, Rich actually was the first one of us to really kind of dive into what you guys were doing through both WIO Hackathon and the efforts that, you know, he had been working on and leading there. In 2019, I really kind of first got exposed to it. And so then as we started forming our venture studio and thinking about what are the best-in-class platforms that we can build on top of in this space, just became more and more apparent through several meetings and kind of research that Cardano's approach just had a lot of rigor behind it. And, you know, when you're building what we're building, where you're going to go from zero to hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue and you're going to have millions of users kind of enter into a place, you want to make sure that that infrastructure is, you know, weapons grade, as we call it. And there's a lot of great infrastructures out there. I think, you know, it's a combination of really getting a feel for the rigor, and then also just the ethos and alignment around kind of why you're doing what you're doing and how that mirrors to some of our own values, and then obviously proximity. You know, we're both invested heavily in the Wyoming ecosystem as well as other ecosystems around the world. So that was my, you know, easy yes. Rich may have something to add to that, but.
So in terms of Cardano, 90 peer-reviewed papers, right? You can't go wrong making sure things go right, and that's what Charles has been doing. And just the whole way that Charles approaches things, and the rest of the IOG family approaches things thoughtfully, carefully, and considerate in terms of a long-term play, not necessarily a smash and grab. And so all of that, and, you know, having a deep background in technologies and watching these things over many cycles, this is one that I think is here for the long haul.
All right, that sounds great. Rich, after the success of DeFi, gaming and I would say NFTs in general is another massive industry that's at the doorway of blockchain. How do you think Cardano can help with revamping the gaming industries and NFTs more generally speaking? So,
yeah, we absolutely believe exactly the same thing. We see $1 trillion business opportunity ahead of us in NFTs, $1 trillion business opportunity. Right now, collectibles is about 370 billion, and when you turn the whole NFT market on its head, so if you think about where people are right now with NFTs, most of that stuff is coming out of the gaming world, and that's where a lot of traction is. and that's a good place for a lot of that stuff to reside. The problem exists that gas fees are enormous other places, and there's going to be a mass exodus looking for other places to do NFTs. So we want to build the place where people go to be on top of the Cardano blockchain. We think it's well positioned as a financial operating system. The emphasis on being that in DeFi and the connection between DeFi and NFT makes a really solid business plan, business opportunity for NFTs on the Cardano blockchain. We think we can build the penultimate platform for that. So to that extent, I put in a Cardano Catalyst proposal to do the NFT collaborative framework. And we're getting quite a bit of traction. We have over 30 people that have joined us from the seed of an idea. And everyone's very, very interested. We're planning on building a thing called Boxcar on top of the Cardano rails. And on top of that, people can build businesses, art businesses, real estate businesses, whatever they want. But if we build a nice open source framework that the community supports, then Cardano does have a chance of leapfrogging everything that's in the market now.
The only thing I'd add to that is, I think it can't be understated how important having an NFT, whatever is in that container, be a first-class citizen on the Ledger network. And so, although others may come out of the gate faster, others already have as it relates to the, now the new buzzword of the day, which is NFTs. Everything on Clubhouse is about NFTs, and everybody's jumping in and acting like an expert. Again, when you go back to the rigor of what enables scale, what enables frictionless transactions, both on the primary as well as the second and third and fourth level order of things as these things mature, there's just a really robust foundation here. And with the UTXOMA, or with the multi-asset ledger, post hard fork, it gives us the opportunity to really think about that as a way to enable the efficiency of a Shopify, but inside of something where you've got a weapons grade blockchain, but where your token could be spun up in seconds and be treated just like Ada. So super exciting, actually, when you think about the next 12 to 15 months.
That sounds awesome. That's very exciting stuff. To close off, why don't you tell our community about the inevitable events that's coming up, the Inevitable Events Summit, and the speakers, some of the key speakers that'll be part of that summit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we know we have a special relationship with you guys as the association sponsors of the event with SDK. And so it's, again, just part of our collaboration moving forward, really trying to empower things. So the Inevitable World Summit is one of our series of events around the Inevitable brand. The Inevitable brand really speaks to the things that we believe, which is that it's not a matter of if these things will happen. It's what role will you and I play as ecosystem participants in the shaping of it, right? The cement is still wet, as we like to say. So what you're bringing together here, which is kind of a unique thing in the crypto world, is people like Charles, people like Alex Mashinsky, Ben Gertzel, Scott Stornetta, Jean-Jacques Quisquater, who represent 50% of the white paper references in Satoshi's white paper, and several more, and I don't want to leave anybody out. But it's this really interesting gathering of kind of the best-in-class leaders that are building these technology platforms for Web3, mixed with about 80% of the audience that makes their living in a peer-to-peer influencer marketing or brand kind of way. And so it's really about driving or tipping the scales of mass adoption, but for the things that have done the work and have built the platforms that will be built to last. And so it's kind of this mashup. It's February 26th to the 28th. You should come. And I've been doing events, and Rich and I have been doing events together since 2013 in one way, shape, or form. And I can honestly say, despite everything that we've ever done, just in the pre-roll of some of the interviews we've had, including the one we did with Charles, that'll air on Saturday morning to kick things off. It's by far the best. I get chills thinking about it. It's the best event I've ever been a part of. So get your seat, and we'll see you there.
Love the energy, guys. Thank you so much, Chris and Rich. Back to you, Tim.
So thanks very much, Jerry, for that, and we look forward to regular updates every month on partnerships and collaborations on Cardano. Now, one thing to add here, very generously, Load have offered us 1,000 free tickets to the Inevitable World Summit, which runs between the 26th and the 28th of this month. So there's a link appearing on screen right now. If you want to get your hands on a ticket, which is worth normally over $250, please make sure you apply for one of those now.
That's awesome news. And, you know, with partnerships comes utility, and that's a big piece of Goguen. There are other partnerships that we're looking at. We're looking at startups as well. And Vuk caught up recently with one such startup that was very interested in starting up on our chain. So let's take a look at that.
So Josip and I met a month ago, and at the time they were still working on the smart contracts on the Ethereum side. But so much changed in the last month that we met. Josip, can you tell us a bit more on what you're working on?
Absolutely. A lot of things changed, including us transitioning from Ethereum to Cardano. But first, a bit of intro. So my name is Joss. I'm founder and CEO at Revuto. And what we're building is a subscription management solution, meaning we allow our users to actively manage seasonality of their subscription services in a way which they can block, snooze, or approve every billing cycle every month for every subscription. What we allow is a so-called one-click subscription experience. And the reason why that's mattering is because subscriptions are really everywhere around us and they're growing really fast. The reason for that is quite simple. The market, both public and private, is rewarding companies that have recurring instead of one-off or transactional revenue. And by rewarding, we mean that they get 10 to 20x the valuation if they would have normal or one-off revenue. So what's happening is that companies, both big and small, and both those that should and those that shouldn't, are introducing these subscription-based models, all at the expense of end consumers. And Revuto really wants to be that one single app that allows you to get the control back and allow you to debundle every subscription on a month-by-month level.
I see. How does this fit in the story with native tokens?
Absolutely. That's an interesting question. Well, we believe that decentralized digital currencies are really the future and a way in which we'll be paying for everything. So connecting our payment system to crypto was really just a natural and logical progression of our roadmap. We're still exploring various different avenues and ways in which we can really leverage native tokens. But one of the main things that we want to do with our native token called Revu is really to build a new ecosystem and to have a closed circuit economy. What that means is that our users will be allowed to both pay for their subscription expenses with Revu, but also on the other side, to be able to earn Revu through various incentivized ways and to be able to get growth from Revu. One of the main things that we plan to do with Revu is, as I said, just being able to pay for all of the subscriptions that you're having and paying for. Also, one of the other things is DeFi microlending, so allowing liquidity for the end user, and also to be able to earn Revu through staking, referrals, and cashback options. We also plan to grant the holders of Revu both revenue sharing and governance rights.
I see. Can you tell us a bit more about the DeFi vision that you have?
Absolutely. Well, like everyone who's building in the fintech space, we really have a strong opinion on how obsolete and inefficient the centralized institutions are. So currently we are depending on agents like banks, brokerages, and exchanges, and it just really isn't the most effective and the most risk-free way of doing business. So as everyone in the space, we're looking for ways in which we can build a more robust and completely decentralized way. We were exploring different options, and one of the biggest and the strongest communities is actually the Cardano community. So we were quite excited and eager to explore that option. One of the biggest things that we plan to do with DeFi is really the micro-lending. And by that, what we mean is that there's an entire segment of the market that doesn't have the necessary liquidity when the billing cycle is due. to be able to provide them liquidity in a cheap, robust, and efficient way is something that is very exciting and we think will enable the market to, in the end, really grow.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, especially because of the fact that Cardano's ecosystem also focused a lot on Africa, and we have so many initiatives there with so many potential users that you guys can leverage.
Absolutely. I mean, I've had some personal work experience prior to this in Africa, and it really is one of those case studies where leapfrogging makes total sense. So it's just one of those ecosystems that grows so fast and is breaking through the traditional concepts of how technology should progress. That nonlinear growth is something that is extremely exciting. And if we look at the user base of subscriptions in general, one big segment is really online entertainment, but the second one are productivity and SaaS tools that everyone is using. So those two combined with the growth and the demographics that we have in Africa are just the perfect playground for high growth, and we think the DeFi option, so the micro lending of offering them new subscription services, will do wonders for the African community, but also will do wonders for our DeFi option.
Yeah, very, very exciting. Well, thanks for being part of the community and hope to see more updates soon.
Absolutely. If anyone is interested to learn more, to join us, I would like to invite everyone to visit revuto.com and sign up for our product and join us on our journey.
Thank you so much.
So we're joined again by our Cardano content creator at large, the one and only David Orr. David, we had you on the show last month. It's just under a month, in fact, since we launched the vertical strategy. Perhaps you just want to remind us what that is and how it's all going.
Yeah, the vertical strategy is going well. So the idea was to launch vertical content on Instagram and TikTok. And so we did that on, I believe it was the 5th of February, and it's been 3.5 weeks now, and we've had some pretty good results. On Instagram, I think we got about 1,400 followers, and that was about 30,000 video views across all the videos. On TikTok, we had exceptional results. We have almost 27,000 followers on there, and the cumulative video views is 2.1 million, so pretty good.
Right, so David, those are some impressive numbers. Just to give the audience an update, what else are you focused on? What else is coming out?
Yeah, so we're actually looking to evolve this strategy. So we started with TikTok and Instagram, and we would like to move over to YouTube. There's some new interesting things coming out. They've just announced that at the middle of March, they're going to be releasing shorts. And so we're going to definitely look at that as an option, but we're going to be keeping with TikTok on the daily content for sure.
Thank you, David. Yes, and loads more content coming out over the months ahead. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and of course, TikTok and Instagram. The links will be down below. David, thanks for joining us. So that's the end of the show. Now, thank you very much for joining us on this, the first edition of Cardano 360. We'll continue to add new segments and improve and iterate over the course of the next few months, and of course, involve more of you, the community, as we go. But just a few shout-outs, I think, Aparna, before we close.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to get the show up and running every month on top of everybody's normal jobs. So really appreciate the team's work behind the scenes. Just a couple shout outs. Maki, who is on the product marketing team, who does a lot of the behind the scenes work. I also want to give a shout out to Richie on the graphics and everything else that they're working on the creative side. And then, of course, our camera guy, Dom, who does all the editing and then puts all the magic together. So really appreciate it, guys. And we'll see you next time.